Kenya M., a 19-year-old with a vibrant spirit, enjoyed socializing with her friends, much like any typical college student. On the night of March 31st, 2011, she chose to visit a club in Denver, a common activity for someone her age. Unfortunately, she became excessively intoxicated, leading the bouncers to escort her out of the establishment. In her inebriated state, Kenya forgot to collect her personal belongings. After wandering for some time, a car approached, and a man inside offered her a ride home. However, she never made it back. It soon became apparent that Kenya had vanished, raising concerns that she may have been murdered. The only lead in the investigation was a text message from Travis Forbes, the man who had offered her a ride. Kenya M. was born on January 26, 1992, in Honduras. Shortly after her birth, her mother Maria left her in the care of her grandmother and relocated to the United States at the age of 16. Maria's primary goal was to eventually bring her daughter to the land of opportunities. While in the U.S., she met and fell in love with Anthony Lee, also known as Tony, and they married. It took 11 years for Kenya to join her mother in the United States, arriving in 2004 to find Maria happily married to Tony, residing in Aurora, Colorado, with their 2 children, Kimberly and Anthony. Tony embraced Kenya as his own daughter, fostering a close bond that led her to affectionately call him Dad. Kenya had a close relationship with her step-siblings, particularly Kimberly, who became her best friend. Despite her struggles with English, Kenya excelled academically and graduated from Cherry Creek High School with commendable grades. This achievement led to her acceptance into a college in Denver, where she pursued a degree in broadcasting and moved in with her boyfriend, L.S. Easton. Kenya was known for her kind nature and vibrant personality, enjoying a rich social life filled with friends and laughter. Everything seemed to be going well for her, surrounded by love and support from her family, until a pivotal night changed everything. While in college, Kenya and her friends created fake IDs to experience the nightlife in Denver. Having never encountered legal issues, her parents, Tony and Maria, were unaware of her actions. On March 31, 2011, Kenya planned a night out with her friends at a Denver club, a routine they had established. Although she maintained a strong connection with her family and kept them informed about her activities, she chose not to disclose the full details this time, telling them she was going to a hookah bar instead. They were familiar with a bouncer at the club who typically allowed them entry. Unfortunately, that night, the bouncer was not present, and the staff on duty denied them access due to their fake IDs. Consequently, they opted to visit a nearby club, hoping for a better outcome. Upon gaining entry, they were finally set to enjoy their evening, although the friends accompanying Kenya were not the usual group she would go out with. During a night out at the club, she encountered a man and began to party with him, leading to her becoming excessively intoxicated. It was not merely a few drinks. Her condition deteriorated to the extent that the bouncers had to escort her out of the establishment around 1:30 a.m. In the process, Kenya was unable to retrieve her belongings, including her purse, jacket, and cell phone. Her friends mistakenly believed that she had left the club with someone and had not taken her personal items. When Kenya failed to return to her apartment that night, her boyfriend Louis grew concerned. On the morning of April 1, 2011, he attempted to call her but received no answer. He also reached out to her sister, Kimberly, to inquire if she had heard from Kenya, but Kimberly had not. Meanwhile, Kenya's friends discovered that she had not made it home. Kenya's mother, Maria, was the first family member to learn of her daughter's disappearance and promptly informed her husband that no one had heard from Kenya since the previous night. Her parents began contacting various family members and friends in hopes of finding information about Kenya's whereabouts, but their efforts were in vain. At this point, no one had a clear understanding of what transpired the night before. Tony Lee, her father, sought to gather every detail regarding Kenya's activities on March 31st and urged her friends to recount the events of that day. Most of Kenya's friends were aware that she often informed her parents about visiting a hookah bar whenever she intended to sneak into a club or bar, although they were initially unaware of her plans. Hesitant and frightened, Her friends ultimately informed Tony that they had gone to a club for entertainment rather than a hookah bar. In response, Tony contacted the police to report his daughter missing. However, the operator informed him that a report could not be filed until 72 hours had passed since her disappearance, as most individuals in such situations typically return within 24 hours. With no sign of Kenya, her father resolved to examine her phone in hopes of discovering clues regarding her location. It was then that he noticed a message in her inbox from an unknown number, which read, "Hey, this is Travis, the guy who gave you a ride last night in a white creepy van. Did you get home okay?" Recognizing that Travis might have been the last person to communicate with his daughter, Tony attempted to call the number repeatedly, but there was no response. On April 2nd, the day after Tony Lee had tried to reach him, Travis returned the call to Kenya's number. When Tony inquired about the events of the night of March 31st and his encounter with Kenya, Travis provided a detailed account. He explained that he was driving around 2:30 a.m. when he spotted Kenya outside the 24K club conversing with a homeless man. After asking if she needed assistance, Kenya informed Travis that she needed a ride to her car, which was parked at a different location. Upon arriving at the parking lot, however, Kenya was unable to locate her vehicle and requested a ride home. The address Travis provided to Tony was that of the apartment Kenya shared with Lewis, which he recognized because he had recently rented a bakery nearby. While driving her to her residence, Kenya shared with Travis that Tony intended to purchase cigarettes, so he stopped at the Kiko gas station. Although the station was closed, he noticed an Asian man nearby, from whom Kenya requested a cigarette. According to Travis, both Kenya and the man conversed in Spanish as they walked away, marking the last time he saw Kenya. Sensing inconsistencies in Travis's account, Tony contacted the police again to report Travis's story and to request a missing persons report for Kenya. However, his request was denied once more, as the authorities stated that less than 72 hours had passed since Kenya's disappearance. With no assistance from the police, Tony decided to reach out to Travis again, who agreed to meet him at the same gas station where Kenya had last been seen. Despite his wife's objections and her pleas for him not to go, Tony took his 9mm handgun and headed to the Kiko gas station. Concerned for her husband's safety, Maria called 911 to express her worries, informing the authorities that Tony was going to meet an unknown man while armed. Although carrying a firearm was legal in Colorado, Maria feared that Tony's emotions might lead to an unfortunate incident. As a result of her call, 2 police officers were already present at the Kiko gas station when Tony arrived. Travis was also there, accompanied by a friend. One of the officers approached Tony, instructing him to secure his firearm and wait in the car while he spoke with Travis to gather his account of the events. On the night of March 31st, Travis recounted the same narrative to the police officer that he had previously shared with Tony during a phone call the day before. He appeared to be a sincere and reliable individual, seemingly conveying the truth. However, the police officers found it peculiar that Kenya had left with a man she had only just met at approximately 3 a.m. While the officers were interviewing Travis Forbes, Tony decided to inspect his white van, the same vehicle he had referenced in his text to Kenya. As he approached, he detected a strong odor of bleach emanating from the van, which immediately raised his suspicions. Consequently, Tony approached the police officers and requested that one accompany him to investigate further. The officer who joined him also noticed the bleach smell upon nearing the van. Although authorities typically require probable cause to search a vehicle, they were fortunate that the van's temporary registration numbers had expired 3 days prior. The officers sought Travis's consent to inspect the van, citing the expired plates, to which he consented and opened all the doors. Aside from the bleach odor, the first oddity that both the officers and Tony observed was the immaculate condition of the van's rear, which featured new carpeting and walls that gleamed as if freshly polished. In stark contrast, the front of the van was cluttered with food wrappers and empty cans resembling a refuse container. Despite these observations, the police officers were unable to take further action or conduct a search of Travis's van without a search warrant. Before concluding the meeting, Travis requested that the officers speak to Tony Lee. Expressed his remorse to Tony, even shedding tears for failing to support Kenya on the night she vanished. 72 hours after Kenya's disappearance on April 4, 2011, law enforcement initiated a missing persons investigation. The FBI subsequently became involved. On the day that Lee and Maria were scheduled to provide their statements at the police station, they received a call from the FBI regarding their daughter's case. Detective Nash Guru from the Missing and Exploited Persons Unit was spearheading the investigation, with Detective Estrada assisting in the event that the case escalated to a homicide inquiry. The investigation commenced with Travis Ford, the last individual known to have seen Kenya on the night of her enigmatic disappearance. He was formally interviewed on April 6th, the day after investigators obtained surveillance footage from the bakery where he operated his business. During the interview, Travis maintained his original account, reiterating the same details he had previously shared with Anthony Lee and the officers at the Kiko gas station. He further claimed that Kenya had departed with an unidentified Asian individual. When questioned, his girlfriend, Carrie Humphrey, corroborated that Travis had been with her from 3 to 8 a.m. Upon examination of his phone records and location data from the specified time, it was revealed that Travis did not visit his girlfriend's residence. In fact, he was situated in Keensburg and was not in proximity to her home around 3 a.m. on April 1st. Additionally, discrepancies arose regarding his account of the following morning. He informed investigators that he arrived at work around 8:30 a.m. However, Monica Puley, the proprietor of Deb's Bakery where Travis was employed, stated that he was not scheduled to work on April 1st. Furthermore, she reported to the authorities that upon her arrival at the bakery on the morning of April 2nd, she discovered that all surveillance cameras had been deactivated. A review of the footage prior to the cameras being turned off revealed Travis wandering within the bakery at 7:30 p.m. Notably, he was seen wearing long latex cleaning gloves. The footage from the evening of April 1st depicted Travis maneuvering a large white cooler on a cart, which he subsequently placed in the walk-in freezer of the bakery. The cooler was secured with duct tape. After positioning the cooler in the freezer, the surveillance footage captured Travis carrying a roll of carpet into the establishment. He then returned to his van to retrieve what appeared to be a bottle of bleach, after which the security cameras were disabled. Travis's activities in and around the bakery raised suspicions, particularly due to the absence of CCTV footage. Consequently, investigators opted to interview other business proprietors in the vicinity of the bakery where Travis was employed. One witness reported seeing two men burning a 55-gallon barrel late on the evening of April 1st, and noted the presence of a white van parked nearby. Another individual informed the investigators that on the evening of April 2nd, he observed Travis cleaning a white cooler located in the back of his van, which was parked behind the bakery. When Monica, the bakery owner, inquired about a peculiar smell, Travis claimed it was moldy marijuana. He further explained that he had turned off the bakery's surveillance cameras to change his clothes. However, Monica found this explanation unconvincing, as she had often caught Travis in lies. Additionally, she noticed a gash on his arm, to which he attributed to an attack by a homeless man while he was sleeping in his van. The police conducted a search of the bakery for any evidence related to Kenya's disappearance, but were unable to uncover anything substantial. Lacking compelling evidence against Travis Forbes or any leads regarding Kenya's whereabouts, the police were compelled to release him. Authorities subsequently appealed to the public for assistance in locating Kenya, urging anyone with information to come forward. Meanwhile, news of Kenya's disappearance gained widespread attention across the United States, and the media quickly became involved. Travis Forbes was identified as the last person to see Kenya, which prompted him to participate in numerous interviews with both electronic and print media. During some of these interviews, he displayed emotional responses while reflecting on the actions he could have taken to save her. Despite his frequent portrayals as a concerned friend of Kenya and her family, law enforcement suspected he was concealing information. Consequently, they initiated a comprehensive background investigation to determine if he had any prior criminal history, leading to a significant discovery. Travis's background revealed a history of criminal activity. At the age of 17, he faced charges for breaking into 16 residences in Fort Collins, resulting in the theft of $115,000 in cash and valuables. He was also convicted of felony burglary and sentenced to 9 years in prison. However, he was subsequently directed to attend a military camp instead of serving his sentence. Unfortunately, just 2 months into the program, he was expelled and placed on probation. In 1998, while on probation, he was convicted of criminal harassment and violated his curfew 43 times. Additionally, he served time for throwing rocks at women who were jogging in a park. As the investigation into Kenya's disappearance continued, a month had passed with no leads. During this time, Travis suddenly vanished, raising alarms among the detectives assigned to Kenya's case. On May 6th, another significant development occurred when authorities in Denver learned that Travis Forbes had been arrested in Austin, Texas, on charges related to car theft. Although this incident was unrelated to Kenya's disappearance, it provided law enforcement in Denver with an opportunity to further scrutinize him. The subsequent challenge for the authorities was to secure the extradition of Travis Forbes to Denver to face charges related to the case in Kenya. Following a protracted process that extended beyond a month, Travis Forbes was transported to Denver on June 30th, 2011. However, shortly after his arrival, the prison that had initially charged him with car theft opted not to pursue the case further, leaving the Denver police without grounds to maintain his custody. Despite his release, the authorities continued to monitor Travis and his activities. Shortly thereafter, he relocated to Fort Collins to stay with his father for 3 days, during which he was under surveillance by the Denver police. However, they eventually ceased their observation as he was not engaging in any unlawful behavior. Just 4 days after his move to Fort Collins, Travis committed an act that would shock the community and serve as irrefutable evidence against him. On the night of July 4th, 2011, a 30-year-old woman named Lydia Tillman was returning home after enjoying fireworks in downtown Fort Collins. Unbeknownst to her, she was being followed. And as she entered her apartment, Travis forcibly gained entry and sexually assaulted her. His actions escalated as he brutally attacked Lydia, striking her in the face and slamming her head against the wall. Despite her attempts to resist, she ultimately succumbed to his violence. Before departing the scene, Travis doused her with bleach and ignited the apartment. Severely injured and bloodied, Lydia managed to leap from the window and was promptly taken to the hospital. Due to the bleach, there was minimal evidence remaining for the Fort Collins police to work with, but they were determined to pursue the case. On July 7th, Detective Jacqueline Shakely of the Fort Collins Police reached out to Detective Nash Skuru in Denver, expressing her suspicion that Lydia's assailant might be the same individual who had gone missing in Kenya. In light of this new evidence, officers from both the Denver and Fort Collins police departments resumed surveillance on Travis Forbes. His behavior confirmed the police's suspicions, as he was observed spending extended periods outside bars and clubs, targeting women. In the early hours of July 10th, while conversing with a woman outside a club, an officer intervened and inquired about his identity. Travis provided false information, claiming his name was Travis Kennedy and that he did not possess identification. He further stated that he had no phone number and could not recall his address. Although he was released, he returned to the vicinity 20 minutes later, wearing a different shirt and a hat. Around 3 a.m., Travis began to follow another intoxicated woman, which led to his arrest for providing a false name to an officer. He was not informed that he was also under investigation for Lydia Tillman's case and was told that he was being detained solely for a misdemeanor. On July 11th at 10:45 p.m., as Travis was preparing to post his bond, the DNA report from Lydia's case arrived, revealing a match with DNA linked to a car theft in Austin. Subsequently, around midnight on July 12, 2011, Travis Forbes was rebooked by the Fort Collins police on charges of sexual assault, arson, and attempted crimes. Travis was not only questioned about Lydia Tillman, but also about Kenya Mong when the interrogation commenced. On August 26th, Travis Forbes proposed to divulge all information regarding Kenya M's disappearance in exchange for a plea deal, as he wished to avoid imprisonment as a registered sex offender. He also requested that the prosecutors refrain from seeking the death penalty. According to Travis, he and a companion first encountered Kenya outside the 24K Club, where she was conversing with a homeless individual. They offered her a ride home, and after failing to secure a taxi to her apartment, the three of them entered Travis's white van. After dropping his friend off, Travis noticed that Kenya had lost consciousness in the vehicle. He then attempted to assault her. However, she regained consciousness and fought back, prompting him to strangle her to death. He subsequently concealed her body in a cooler and placed it in the bakery's freezer before transporting it to Kennis BG, where he buried her. Following this, Travis returned to the bakery and incinerated any items that could connect him to Kenya's disappearance. On September 26, 2011, he pleaded guilty to the first-degree murder of Kenya and received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. He also pleaded guilty to the attempted murder of Lydia Tillman, resulting in a concurrent 48-year prison sentence, thus concluding one of the most harrowing cases in Denver